Okay, let's dive right in. At its very heart, all life on Earth, from the tiniest little microbe to the biggest blue whale, is built from cells. But here's the thing. It turns out life doesn't just use one blueprint. Nope, it uses two, and they're fundamentally different designs. And getting a handle on that difference, well, that's the key to understanding life itself.
So, let's kick things off with a question. What on earth could a single-celled bacterium, just kind of floating around in a drop of water, possibly have in common with a giant towering redwood tree? I mean, they seem like they're from different planets, right? The simple answer is they're both made of cells. But the really fascinating part is how those cells are put together. And boom, here they are, the two master plans for life. Over on the left, you've got the prokaryotic cell. That's the blueprint for bacteria. And on the right, the eukaryotic cell, the blueprint for plants, animals, fungi, and yeah, us. Just at a glance, you can already see a massive difference in complexity, can't you? One looks like a simple little capsule, and the other looks like a whole bustling factory. Let's start with the first one, the more ancient of the two designs, the prokaryote. A good way to think about this is as life's original minimalist model. Now, what's really wild when you look at this is just how simple it seems. We're looking at the design that has dominated our planet for billions of years. Inside that outer wall, you see that blue squiggly line? That's its genetic material, its DNA, and it's just floating around in there. There's no special container for it or anything. And that's the absolute key to its name, which is actually pretty cool. Prokaryote comes from Greek, and it literally means before the kernel or before the nucleus. This cell design was around way before life came up with the idea of having a central control room for its DNA. It's a design built for speed and efficiency. So if you're going to remember one thing about prokaryotes, it's this. There's no nucleus. The DNA is just mingling with everything else inside. There are no little specialized rooms or internal compartments. It's kind of like a one-room studio apartment. Everything's in one place, it's efficient, it's simple, and for billions of years it has worked incredibly well. Okay, now let's check out the other blueprint. And if the prokaryote is a studio apartment, then the eukaryote, well, the eukaryote is a sprawling city full of specialized districts and factories all working together. I mean, just look at the difference here. This plant cell is packed with all sorts of structures. It's got power plants, recycling centers, transport systems, and most importantly, a central headquarters. Everything has its place, and every single part has a very specific job to do. And this, of course, brings us to its name. Eukaryote means true nucleus. This design features a proper membrane-bound compartment. You can see it right there, that big purple circle, and it's dedicated to protecting and managing the cell's precious genetic code. So to sum it up, eukaryotes have that true nucleus, which acts like a vault for the DNA. They're full of all these specialized compartments, which we call organelles, and each one is performing a different function. This incredible organization allows for a much larger and more complex structure overall, which is exactly how you get from a single cell to something as complicated as a person. Okay, so we've seen the two blueprints on their own. Now let's put them head-to-head to really, truly understand the fundamental divide between them. This is the great divide of life. This table just lays it out perfectly. Let's look at the first feature, the nucleus. In the prokaryotic cell, absent. In the eukaryotic cell, present. That single difference dictates everything else. So, the DNA location, free-floating versus safely contained inside that nucleus. The internal structures? Simple, no compartments, versus complex with tons of organelles. And all this leads to the kinds of organisms they build. Prokaryotes build bacteria, while eukaryotes build, well, pretty much everything else you can see. So why do we care so much about this distinction? A cell with a nucleus, a cell without one? Big deal, right? Well, it is a huge deal. Because this isn't just some abstract biology concept. This is the story of all life on Earth, including our own. And here it is. This is the punchline. That simple, minimalist, no-nucleus design of the prokaryote, it's responsible for the entire, vast, invisible worlds of bacteria that covers every single surface of our planet. But the complex, compartmentalized design of the eukaryote, that's what made it possible to build large, multicellular organisms. It built the trees, the mushrooms, the animals, and it built us. So we're really left with these two incredible paths that life has taken. On the one hand, you have the prokaryotic strategy. Be small, be simple, reproduce lightning fast, and just conquer the world through sheer, overwhelming numbers. On the other hand, you have the eukaryotic strategy. Build complex internal machinery, protect your DNA at all costs, and cooperate to build enormous, intricate structures. And that leaves us with a really fascinating final thought, doesn't it? Prokaryotic simplicity has been the dominant form of life on this planet for most of its history. And trust me, it's not going anywhere. But eukaryotic complexity, which is a much more recent invention, is what allowed for consciousness and, the ability to ask this very question. So, which blueprint do you think is ultimately more successful? The one that endures for eons, or the one that wonders?